We're going to call this meeting to order for the Corporation Township of Puslinch on June 17th, 2020. I don't know who that is, but I think you might need to mute your microphone. All right, so we will start with roll call. I believe we go with Councillor Bailey as the first one for this meeting. Does that sound correct, Councillor Spoulos?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so Councillor Bailey?
Present.
Okay, Councillor Bulmer?
Present.
Councillor Goyda?
Present.
And Councillor Spoulos.
Present.
All right, and do we have any disclosure of pecuniary interest for this meeting? Councillor Goyda.
Yes, I have a potential pecuniary interest for two items under intergovernmental affairs, item 2 and number 4 being the town of Oakville regarding AGCO patio expansion and the TAPMO executive minutes. And the nature is for item 2, any discussion around patio expansion could have pecuniary interest toward business owned and operated by myself and immediate family. And item 4, a family member operates an aggregate property in the township.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to have to, apologize in advance if I call on you during those items. I'm having trouble with my secondary screen that I usually have the agenda and everything on. It won't let me open the PDF, so if I do that, I apologize.
No problem.
Okay. And any other disclosure of pecuniary interests? Done? Okay, good. All right, so let's start out with we have a resolution. Ms. White Fox, you want to read that resolution for the adoption of the minutes?
That the minutes of the following meeting be adopted as written and distributed. June 3rd, 2020, electronic participation council meeting.
Okay. Can I get a mover for that, please?
I'll move it.
Councillor Spoulos, seconded by Councillor Goyda. All right. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Not seeing none, not hearing any. Okay. All in favor? Councillor Bailey?
In favor?
Councillor Bulmer?
Favor.
Councillor Goyda?
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos?
In favor.
And I am in favor. That's carried. Okay. Any business arising out of the minutes? Not seeing any. Okay. Public meetings, none. All right. Our first communications. We have the Groundwater Science Corp. Roswell Pit. This is going to have some interesting conversations. So we'll start with Councillor Bailey, if you have any questions. And does anybody have any questions or comments? So I want to go first and maybe go in order. Councillor Bailey, none. Councillor Bulmer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I have some comments regarding this issue. I was really disappointed to see the MNR approve this pretty much carte blanche for the operator. When we look back over the history of this operation, it went to an OMB hearing, and one of the issues that was resolved at the OMB hearing that all parties agreed to were the temperature thresholds. And those temperature thresholds came out of their groundwater model. And very early on in the process, there were exceedances in the temperature impacts and at the temperature thresholds. And those have been under discussion, let's say, for several years without a resolution. And yet, despite that non-resolution of the exceedances of those thresholds, we're seeing it move into the third pond. And the reason that this thing was developed in the first place in stages was to allow for issues such as an improper or invalid or inaccurate groundwater model to be refined as we went. So I was really disappointed that even without our own consultants' comments, they went ahead with that unresolved issue. And if I look at the timing of the correspondence as laid out in this document from Groundwater Science, we see that the MNR received the request back in November. It appeared on our agenda in January, and it was approved probably less than a month after our consultant was sent the stuff or asked to review it on our behalf. And the MNR didn't get those comments from our consultant until April. So in the intervening time, the MNR had no notion from our municipality whether we would or would not support this. So I would like to see council support to having maybe a standing protocol with staff that whenever we receive a request from the MNR regarding a site plan amendment, that we just, put a notice to the M&R that we object, subject to, us getting comments from our consultant or council having a chance to review it. Since there's many times, you can see how quickly this thing went, that we may not have time to even get it on our agenda, get it to our consultant and back again. It won't take away our ability as a council to decide whether we ultimately agree with the change or not. It just puts the brakes on it temporarily so we can get our comments together. I'd be looking for some feedback from the rest of council on asking staff to have that standing process when we receive a request like this.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. I support that position. I feel this is just another example of, the municipality just being, some red tape in the way of the aggregate industry. They got their approval before we were even able to get our professionals to evaluate the situation. And it's another reason for me to advocate for extraction not below the water table. So I'll carry on. Councillor Gordon, was this one of the ones that you declared a pecuniary on or no? I didn't have it written down because I didn't have the agenda up in time. No? So
No.
you're good?
No,
Okay. No, you're not good, or no, you can?
I'm sorry, I didn't declare.
Okay.
And
So you're up next.
okay.
Sorry.
I guess my question would be, I think, directed to the CAO, and it's on page 26, at least 26 of the original agenda, maybe not the amended one. Hardin has identified 3 recommendations. So at this point in time, what would be the best approach for the township to request or require those 3 recommendations to be implemented?
My sense is that we take these recommendations and then that we forward them on to both the M&R and the applicant and say this is what our specialist has recommended, and seek what their comment and their feedback is.
Okay,
So, any further questions, Councillor Gordon?
no.
Okay. Councillor Spoulos.
Yes, I'm turning off my video. I'm concerned about the potential breach, as our consultant has. This is a breach in the threshold levels for the monitoring wells at the southwest corner of the property. And also the fact that back in our April 2nd correspondence, we had 3 recommendations, and our consultant responded to at least 2 of those recommendations. So I'd like also, besides the recommendations noted in the letter Councillor Goya referred to, we also include the comments that that our consultant makes with respect to these 2 recommendations done on April 2nd. I support Councillor Bulmer's notion of having staff advise. Perhaps a way of doing this is, as soon as we get staff receive something, they can send a letter to the M&R. This item's coming up to council agenda such and such, and we expect a reply on such and such. In other words, be proactive, advise them that something's coming beforehand. So those are my comments.
Okay, so I'm supportive of most of what was said there already. The only thing with the way you're tweaking it, John, I think Councillor Bulmer's idea was to give authorization for the staff to object, and you're saying just to give the M&R a heads up that we're going to be talking about it. I would prefer to lean towards Councillor Bulmer's direction that we object, because maybe that starts a process in motion and carries a little bit more clout than we'll just be in a situation where we are right now, is that, oh, well, the M&R could say, well, they were waiting for our comments, they didn't receive them, so they approved it. Well, if our first comment is, it's always easier to object and then have our professionals look at it and then refute back to the original approval. So if you're okay with that. So unless there's other, sorry, go ahead, John.
Mr. Mayor, does Councillor Bulmer's comment reply to this specific pit, or is he talking in general?
I believe he means in general when this appears before staff. So I'll let Councillor Bulmer answer that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Councillor Sapoulis, it would just be for any pit, but this was a good example of why I think it could be a good protocol to have in place, just that staff, it's like just a place marker saying, thank you, we've received this. The township objects, subject to the review, and then we, explain, like you said, this will go before our consultants and council will still have the opportunity to decide when it gets to our agenda. But it'd be for any aggregate application that's applying for a site plan amendment. We really don't know whether we're supportive of it until we get the comments back from our consultant.
Okay. I appreciate what you just said, Councilor Bulmer. The fact that you said I object subject to receipt of comments from council, I'm okay with that wording. I simply don't think objecting outright without any rationale is a good way to kick off anything. But if we say we object subject to receiving comments, that's fine with me.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay,
Councilor.
so that'll be a
Spillis.
step.
Mr. Chair, just for clarification as well, this is unlike EBR posting or ERO posting, I think they're now called. There are no official timelines for these, so that's why I'm suggesting I had the objection in there. And whether it's subject to or not, it's something, as the mayor suggested, we can always remove our objection. That's how a lot of organizations work. You object in the up front and then remove your objection at a later date when your concerns are satisfied. So either way, I think subject to will achieve the same thing. But I'll leave that to staff. Maybe they have an idea on how best to word that letter.
Okay. So what I'd like to deal with first is, if we could, Glenn, do we need to notice a motion to send this letter that identifies the comments from Stan Danhoud and the comments he made back on April 20th, or can that just be verbal direction to staff? Do you want a motion or?
Yeah, it should be a motion, not a notice of motion, but just a resolution, item number, whatever it is, direct staff to do the following, just so there's a formal record of that.
So Councillor Spillis, you were pretty adamant about that. You don't mind
Okay, so
posing that resolution?
yeah, so the resolution would say that council directs staff to submit the hardened letter of May 29th, 2020 to the MNRF, and also the comments made by our consultant with respect to the two recommendations made back in April the 2nd. And lastly, that staff be directed to file a notice of objection for any such further application, subject to council having the opportunity to review and provide comments thereof.
So I was thinking of dealing with those two things separately. Would
Sure.
that be a little bit of a cleaner cut, Mr. Schwindinger?
Yeah, they're two not directly related items, so it would be better if they're two separate resolutions.
Okay. So just leave off the staff direction part for objecting into future site plan amendments. Courtney, do you have that written down well?
Yes, I captured both, and I'll just split them up into two separate resolutions.
Okay, so we have a mover with Councillor Spillis. Do you have a question, Councillor Goda, or do you want to second it?
For the second part of it, where we are going to object subject to comments, that component I would like to declare pecuniary interest.
Okay. All right, so I need a seconder for that original motion, which is to forward on the hardened environmental comments from April 20th, and the current ones on our agenda. So do we have a seconder for that? Either Councillor Bailey or Councillor Bulmer.
Yes, I will.
Okay, Councillor Bulmer seconded. So do we need another round of conversation with it? Everybody comfortable with that? We're good. Okay, so we'll start calling all in favor. Councillor Bailey?
Yes, in favor.
Okay, Councillor Bulmer?
In favor.
All right, Councillor Goida?
This is for the first component,
Correct.
in favor.
Councillor Spillis?
In favor?
And I'm in favor, so that carries. And then I would request a second resolution for directing staff to provide, sorry, Mr. CAO.
Nope, go ahead.
Okay, well, Courtney, you have it captured, but I'll try to summarize it. Just directing staff to object to site plan amendments that they receive and subject to council's, how do you have it written, Courtney? I'm not sure how, I'm fumbling over it here.
So far I have that council directs staff to object to all aggregate site plan amendments subject to receipt of comments from township consultants and until township council has had the opportunity to review such comments.
So are you comfortable moving that, Councillor Spillis?
Yes, I am.
Okay, can we get a seconder for that, please?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bowman. So we'll have a quick round of discussions. Councillor Bailey, you have anything to say?
Just a question, will we find out about it then?
Oh, we can't hear you. You might have to turn your video off and then just try your mic closer.
There we go. As council, will we be notified when that notification gets out or just on the next council agenda?
Well, that's a good question. Mr. CAO, if we pass this resolution and in the future a notice of a site plan amendment application comes in, staff objects as the desire of council is we're discussing, when does council get notified? Will it only show up on the agenda or will staff be notifying council immediately? Is that the basis of your question, Councillor Bailey? Yeah.
I think what we would do is set up the process that we would include it on an agenda to say that we received this application. It's been forwarded to our consultant for comment, and we'll bring comment back to you at once we receive them along those lines, just so that there's a formal record that that's what's been done and it's in process.
And I think that I'm comfortable with that. I mean, other than July and August, we have meetings every 2 weeks essentially. So it's a 2-week waiting period between the time maximum that the staff receives it and they comment to the time that we'll see it. Like I said, other than July and August, then there might be a few more weeks. So I'm comfortable with that. Are you comfortable with that, Councillor Bailey?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Ballmer, any questions or comments?
Thank you. Yes, just one friendly amendment in terms of objecting. Perhaps we should indicate objecting to whom. Perhaps we should say submit a letter objecting to the change to the Ministry of Natural, whatever their current MNR and F, just to make it the proper language for who we're authorizing them to send the objection to.
Okay, that's good advice. Councillor Spillis?
No, I'm good. With respect to your comments on July and August meetings, we can always have a quick meeting to discuss one particular item if necessary, if it's time sensitive.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'll call all in favor. Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, in favor?
Okay, Councillor Ballmer?
In favor?
Okay, Councillor Spillis?
In favor?
I'm in favor as well, so that's carried. All right. Okay, so then we have those two other hard and environmental correspondence, but that's all dealt with. Essentially what we just dealt with, so unless somebody has some other comments on those. And now we're on to intergovernmental affairs. Oh,
Sorry, Mr.
sorry, hold on.
Just a
We have
moment.
we have a resolution for the communications that we need to, there's something.
There's an item 2, with respect to the Claire Maltby.
Oh. Is that under communications?
Yes, it is, item 2. Claire Maltby.
Oh, yes, sorry. That's right. Okay. Sorry, I'm still messing with this other computer. Okay, so we have it, it's on the table. We'll open it up to Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I just, after reading through the hard.
Oh, it's hard to hear you, Councillor Bailey.
Can you hear me now?
Barely.
I don't know how to help this.
There we go.
There we go. In the report, there's just a recommendation for.
No, we're losing you. I don't know if you, are you speaking closely to the mic? I'm not sure if that helps or not. Oh, I can't hear you now, you're muted. Oh,
I'll try again. It says there's a need for alternative strategies. I'm just wondering, how do we ensure that this happens?
can't hear you, Councillor.
Okay,
Miss
so-
Hoyt Fox. No. Miss Hoyt Fox. Is there an option? I know Senator Wellington has a counselor that calls in via landline and they're just on as audio. Do we have that possibility?
Not with our webinar feature, we don't, unfortunately. So I'm not sure. We do have a Q&A thing that we could open up where we could type a question if we couldn't have audio. We don't have the
How good are your typing skills, Sarah? Try one more time. Let's see if we can.
Okay, I'll try here. I'll paraphrase. It recommends in the report a need for alternative strategies. Wondering how we ensure that this happens.
I didn't catch it. Anybody else catch it?
Sorry, no.
Sarah, I'm gonna go around the table and I'll come back to you. Councillor Bulmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, what's interesting is, I guess it's a significant concern of mine, as Mr. Denholt has identified, the continued identification of overland flow out of that area and into the Mill Creek watershed, particularly over Maltby Road. You know, this is the same. The modeling was done by the same company that did their Tier 3 model, and I don't know how we're going to get them to change this part of the model, because it's got to significantly affect their ability to manage stormwater in the catchment areas they've put aside for it. This has been a concern raised not just by our residents, but by our consultants of what's going to happen with all the extra rainwater when they have all these hard surfaces where it can't infiltrate. So I'm hoping that we can see some change on that. I don't know if we could, by throwing our weight behind it, adds any extra weight with the city or the consultant, but I'm glad Mr. Denholt has identified this again.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Councillor Goda.
I just want to verify that this report by Hardin Environmental will form sort of part of an official comment by the township to the city of Guelph.
Mr. CAO.
That is our intention, yes. And our deputy clerk, she could correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand it, they had initial deadlines set for when comments were to be received, but the matter has not yet gone before council, and our staff has confirmed that they will still accept some comments from us with regards to this. So we still have the ability to forward these comments on to them. That's my understanding.
Okay, good.
Okay, Councillor Spoulos.
Yes, I'm concerned that this issue has been raised before by our consultant and it seems to be ignored. So I'm wondering if we should be perhaps engaging or copying in some other authority like the Grand River Conservation Authority or somebody who's responsible for matters like this. I would defer to staff to suggest anybody else, but MOEE might be might be outside of jurisdiction, but I would think that GRCA would be interested in something like this.
So my question maybe to our staff is this perceived to be being held down at the staff level? Would Guelph City Council have knowledge of our complaints yet? Or because I guess the comment period hasn't closed, they're not aware of the situation quite yet, or our concerns, I would say.
I would suggest that no, their council is not aware of our concerns yet.
So where are we at in the order? Should we just file our comments, or should we raise it up a notch and send a letter from the mayor to their mayor saying that we have concerns and they've been identified a few times and they have yet to be addressed, so that we can up it a bit? Or would you rather wait until the comment period closes and see where we fall or where we land? Sorry.
My suggestion would be, instead of ramping it up to the next level yet before their council has officially seen it, what might be good is to submit these as our comments, highlight the previous comments that we've given to them, as Councillor Sapula said, they haven't addressed yet. So to highlight that these are still some outstanding comments, and formally request in that submission to them that we would like to hear their response to our comments, not just that they take them and, okay, fine, they do whatever with them, but that way we can request a response from them. And then we'll see where they're at. And then we can, if at that point the concerns are still disregarded or dismissed, then we would take it to the next level, I would think. That'd be my suggestion.
Now, this may be just playing with words, but instead of asking for a response, are we going to ask for a remedy to the identified issue?
Yes, words along those lines, yes, correct. How would this issue be resolved satisfactorily, or these, these concerns be fixed?
I think that's a great avenue to take. So, Councillor Spoulos?
Yes, does the CEO have any comments with respect to copying in the Grand River Conservation Authority on our correspondence to Guelph, City of Guelph?
My sense is it might be a little bit premature at this point to do that. Let's see what their response is to resolving the concerns that we've identified, and if that doesn't work, then I think we would go there. Just to give them an opportunity to try and resolve it before we bring in the regulators.
Thank
If
you.
I could, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Bowman.
Yeah, if I could speak to your suggestion about speaking directly with council as well. Just to give a little bit of background, we were in a similar situation with the Hanlon Creek Industrial Park that was developed on the west side of the Hanlon. Where concerns and comments were being fed back through the system, and several letters were sent to the City of Guelph. We eventually sent letters right to the mayor's office, but they weren't getting through. They weren't getting there. It led to a very productive across the fence meeting, council to council, discussing a lot of these similar types of boundary issues. And all of a sudden, our residents' concerns were addressed. Issues that had been languished for a couple of years sat unaddressed until we had the other side understanding these were not crazy ideas that we're asking for. It was a reasonable request. And sometimes just talking to your neighbor directly is the best way. But I agree with the suggestion of the CAO that we ask for the response in writing to the resolution, and if that doesn't satisfy, before it gets entrenched in policy, it's always best to have that across the fence discussion, because it's also difficult for staff. If it comes out in a recommendation of a staff report, it's more difficult to change. Everybody then has to change. But if we can get the understanding inside the organization ahead of that, then everybody comes out looking like a winner.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Councillor Bailey, did any of that questioning help address your question you were trying to get out? If you want to try again, you can. No, you're comfortable? Okay. Okay, so do we need a resolution for that? I believe so. Who wants to do that one? Councillor Ballmer, Councillor Goyda, anybody?
Okay.
Sure, I'll move.
But staff be directed to submit the letter from our consultant to the City of Guelph and ask and request the City of Guelph to provide a response to our concerns.
Okay, seconder for that. Councillor Bailey? Yeah, okay. So any other further questions or comments? You can just speak up if you have anything. Not seeing none. Okay, all in favor? Councillor Bailey? Okay, Councillor Ballmer?
In favor.
All right, Councillor Goyda?
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos?
In favor?
And I'm in favor as well, so that's carried. Okay. Now we can, hold on, let me backtrack a second here. Okay, now on to IG. First one is the proposed legislative changes. Any questions or comments on that one? Doesn't affect us as much because we don't have court. Councillor Spoulos?
Yeah, it doesn't affect us, but the only aspect would be as our bylaw officer. And I'd like to support staff if they have any specific comments on it. I really couldn't see anything untoward in the wording.
Mr. CAO, is there anything from our bylaw department? And I said department.
I did pass this issue past our bylaw officer, and he said, yeah, a lot of it doesn't pertain directly to us, but given the circumstances, he thinks that these are a good idea. He would be supportive of it.
Okay, anything further on that one?
Mr. Mayor, should we be
Yep.
supporting this or passing on a comment that we support it or anything of that nature? Would that help? And I guess I'm looking to the CAO to ask that.
Given that as I understand it, the comment period was a matter of a few days, and it ended, I don't have it right here in front of me, the 10th or 11th was when the comment period ended already. So, and that it doesn't directly impact us, I think that we're okay just receiving it for information at this point. It's
Thank
not a
you.
critical issue to us, so we don't need to do anything with it right now.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Any further questions or comments on that one? No? All right, we're gonna do the Town of Oakville one. I remember Councillor Goyda mentioning she was declaring on that. So we will open up to council. Any questions or comments? Councillor Bailey? No? Okay, Councillor Bulmer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I really like this idea. I think we have several restaurants, some with more, some with less space, that might want to take advantage of these type of opportunities. My only question is, when I see how the city of Oakville is going to handle it, they certainly have a lot more staff than we do. They're talking about special provisions and things. So my question would be for the CAO, if we were to support this and and the AGCO was to enable this kind of action, do we have the staff to support these temporary uses to ensure that we're not putting people in harm's way when we do this?
We as staff have had extensive discussions regarding this, along with a similar approach that the City of Cambridge has taken. And no, the short answer to your question is no, we don't have the resources to take the same approach as what Oakville or larger centers have. We're in the process with our chief building official and our fire chief to make something that's right-sized, I'll say, for Post Lynch in terms of having the appropriate level of review done, but something that's as simple as possible, not something that's overkill for a larger municipality that wouldn't really be applicable to us. And I know that they're working on that process right now, and we hope to have something in place. I'm guessing within the next day or so. I know some discussions are going to be taking place tomorrow, I believe, with one of the facilities who's making these same requests. So I think, again, it would be good to just kind of receive this one for information, just so that we don't look like we're going to be creating something as complex, as involved as the larger municipalities, should any of our local businesses look at what Oakville has been doing.
Well, thank you very much. So if I understand that correctly, two things I could take from that is, one, that whatever process you'd come up with, it would be right-sized for the Post Lynch businesses and right-sized for the Post Lynch staff. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes.
And then the other one would be that this is potentially in process, and I just didn't get a sense of what is the potential timeline that we could maybe make this happen for the people that might want to take advantage of it here in the township.
So some of these are in process already. We've been having some discussions with a few businesses already, and I can't tell you the exact status of each of them, but I know some of them are in process and have had discussions, received some information, and some site visits are set up already. So it is a process that's underway, and we hope to have a simplified maybe list or process developed, so that if other people call and ask, this is how we go about it. We're hoping to have that within the next few days, so something in place for early next week for sure.
Wow, that's great. I must admit, I was concerned I was going to hear the word September, but obviously you guys are well on top of this. So we're talking end of month at the latest, and what you're aiming for anyway. That's what your goal is.
Sure, we're trying to get it in place as soon as possible to be reasonable with them, yeah, because we understand the urgency that they want to get their businesses up and going for sure.
Thank you very much, and pass my thanks along to staff for thinking about this ahead of time.
Councillor Spoulos?
I'm good as is with just receiving it.
Okay. I'm glad to hear staff's working on it. I was contacted a few days ago from a local business that, you know, they want to try and expand their patio. And, you know, as a municipality, we have limited tools and funds to help our small businesses. And, you know, thank you, staff, for being on top of this to try to facilitate getting these patios open. You know, there's rules to follow. There's fire code. It has to be done safe, but I really appreciate being ahead of the ball on this one. So thank you, Glenn, and your staff. Any other further comments? No. Okay. Next one is the letter from Minister Clark, broadband, which is nice to have Minister Clark advocating for broadband. I believe he carries a lot of clout within the provincial government. So when he's saying something, I believe people listen. So Councillor Bailey, you have any comments on that one? No. Councillor Bulmer?
No comments.
Okay. Councillor Goida?
No comments.
Councillor Spoulos?
Yeah, the only comment I have is I hope the federal ministers take it to heart. Some of the previous conditions for funding they had were not as would not apply to us. So I hope they do take it to heart.
Mm-hmm. Let's hope. Okay, Ms. Whitefox, you have a resolution for those IG items?
Yes, that the intergovernmental affairs correspondence items 1 through 3
Oh, sorry. Yes, carry on.
listed below for June 17th, 2020 council meeting be received.
Okay, I got a mover for that one.
Sure, I'll move it.
Councillor Spoulos, seconder. Councillor Bailey, all in favor? Councillor Bailey?
Yep, in favor.
Okay, Councillor Bulmer,
In favor.
Councillor Goida.
I can only say yes to item
Oh,
3.
sorry, we didn't remove the Town of Oakville one. So just to, so you provincial offense, you didn't declare pecuniary interest on the proposed, so just, yes, you did.
No, sorry,
Okay.
I 1 and 3 is okay. I just,
Okay. Okay, that's fine. So Ms. Whitefox, could you read the resolution and exclude the Town of Oakville from that, please? I like to keep Ms. Goida as part of.
Yep, for sure. That the intergovernmental affairs correspondence items 1 and 3 listed below for the June 17th, 2020 council meeting be received.
Okay, so we had a mover, Councillor Spoulos, we had a seconder, Councillor Bailey, all in favor, Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, in favor.
Okay, Councillor Bulmer.
In favor.
Okay, Councillor Goida,
in favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor?
and I'm in favor, that's carried. And then Ms. Whitefox, if you could read out us another one for the IG item number 2, please.
That the intergovernmental affairs correspondence items 2 listed below for the June 17th, 2020 council meeting be received.
Okay, mover for that one, Councillor Bulmer.
Yes.
Councillor Bailey, want to second that?
Yep.
Okay, are you in favor?
I am in favor.
Okay, Councillor Bulmer,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos.
In favor?
I'm in favor, that's carried. And now we'll discuss this item 4 that came out as an addendum. It's a little late, I apologize for that. I'll just give you, I think are you declaring a pecuniary? Yeah, there goes Councillor Guida. So we had a meeting with the treasurer from the county and the TAPMO executive a few weeks ago, and Wellington County was looking for endorsement from TAPMO to request a review of the assessment methodology for aggregates across the province. And TAPMO endorsed Wellington County and authorized them to submit on behalf of TAPMO to the Minister of Finance and Municipal Affairs and Housing on behalf of Wellington County to request these changes. So out of those conversations came also a request for local member municipalities of TAPMO to pass a resolution supporting the request to have the province review the assessment methodology for aggregate. And that's what I'm hoping we can do today. I think most of council is aware of a disproportionately low amount of taxes the aggregate industry pays in the township, and with such a large number of operators. And I'm sure members of the previous council will remember the check that had to be written to the aggregate industry to reimburse them after the last round of the impact assessments. So we're just trying to get these assessments more in line with other industrial uses within the province of Ontario. So if you have any questions, then I'll open it up. Councillor Bailey.
No questions, but I just think this sounds like a really great way to help close this gap that's really needed.
Oh man, it's so hard to hear you. It's very difficult to hear you. Sorry. Oh, uh-oh. Losing myself. Did I drop? Anybody there?
I'm here.
Still see you.
My internet, I think, was acting up.
Yeah, you're still there.
Okay, I lost the video with everybody, but okay. So, Councillor Ballmer, do you have any comments on that?
Not specifically, but thank you very much for including it. It's very nice to know what Tapmo's doing. I think I can't be certain, but I think this is the first set of Tapmo minutes I've ever seen. I've been to Tapmo meetings at the conferences, but in between that, it's nice to know what Tapmo's up to. So, and I'm glad the county is coming on board and asking for Tapmo's support with this. It was a great read to read what the county has put together there. It is something. As I read that, I couldn't help but think that there's got to be value in the zoning and the license, because if you try to take that away from them, they'd be screaming bloody blue murder. Any property that has a zoning has a higher value and a higher potential. Although I know that's not how all properties. There's lots of commercial properties that are sitting vacant, and they're not assessed at the commercial rate. But once there is commercial activity there, that assessment goes up. And same thing here. There's sites that are sitting licensed, and yes, they may have a high market value, but they're not assessed as an aggregate site. But once there's aggregate activity, it's an industrial use, and it should be assessed as such. So that was very helpful to understand all that through that report.
And there'll be more information to come as the advocacy winds up. We have, anyways, we're going to have meetings with the Minister of Finance in the near future. Try to pitch this to them and ask for this review, and I'll keep council up to date as best I can. And these minutes coming from Tapmo, this is part of the new executive that was developed about a year ago, shortly after a year and a half, shortly after the election. And it's just given new life into Tapmo and new direction. And, we're focusing more than just on the aggregate levy, right? We're looking at the big picture, and we're using the weight of Tapmo and their advocacy with the government to use. And I think it's great. It's working well so far. So, Councillor Sapoulis.
Yes, I support the motions. The only friendly amendment I would suggest is that we include AMO on the copy too. They're the ones who sort of are also in favor of this approach.
For sure. I'd have to ask our deputy clerk, do we have Roma, AMO, and honestly, I'd like this, if we pass this resolution, I'd like to send it to all municipalities. One trouble I had, we asked Tapmo to put this resolution out to the member municipalities, and then it came in the body of the minutes, and that wasn't my intent on the executive. My intent was for each council to see this resolution, and then that other information was for their information, just to educate them on the situation within the province. And I found it was hidden. It didn't get spotted as well as I wanted it to. So because it's important that when we're talking to the government, we can illustrate that this is a provincial issue, not a Wellington County alone issue. And that's why we brought Tapmo on board, and we have other mayors from Zora, from Uxbridge participating just to prove that. So with this resolution, Ms. White Fox, will it be sent to all member municipalities in the province, like we receive once in a while?
I've added to the resolution AMO, Roma, and all Ontario municipalities.
I'm good with that. So can I have you read the resolution, please?
That the intergovernmental affair correspondence, item 4, listed on the June 17, 2020 council meeting be received. And whereas previous assessment methodologies for aggregate resource properties valued areas that were used for aggregate resources or gravel pits at industrial land rates on a per acre basis of the total site, and such properties were formally classified and taxed as industrial lands. Whereas the Council of Puslinch supports a fair and equitable assessment system for all aggregate resource properties. Whereas the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation determined, with the participation only of the Ontario Sandstone and Gravel Association, revised criteria for assessing aggregate resource properties. Whereas the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation determined, oh, sorry, I think I've read that already. And whereas the Council of Puslinch has concerns that the revised criteria does not fairly assess, sorry, my computer froze, the current value of the aggregate resources properties. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Puslinch does not consider the revised criteria for assessment of aggregate resource properties as a fair method of valuation for these properties, and B, the Council of Puslinch believes there is a need to review the current assessment scheme for aggregate resource properties to address the inequity of property values. C, the Council of Puslinch hereby calls upon the province to work with the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation to address the assessment issue so that the aggregate resources properties are assessed for their industrial value. And D, the Council of Puslinch directs the clerk to provide a copy of this motion to the Minister of Finance, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, AMO, Roma, and all other Ontario municipalities and the local MPPs.
Sounds good. Can I get a mover for that?
I'll move.
I'll
Councillor
second.
Bulmer, Councillor Spoulos, any further questioning before we vote? Councillor Bailey, you have anything? In favor? Yeah. Councillor Bulmer, in favor?
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos?
In favor?
Okay, and I'm in favor. That's carried. Thank you. All right. Where are we? That's done. No delegation reports. Finance Department. Do we need the Director of Finance to give us a little synopsis on this? I believe Council's pretty familiar with the project of the Moyers Bridge. Is that safe to say? Is there any questions or comments on that one? Councillor Bailey? I'll get you, Councillor. No, Councillor Bulmer?
Sorry, I was listening to my agenda in the other ear. I'm sorry, what was, I'm getting lost. Where are
We're just on the report, Finance 2020-023 Investing Canada Infrastructure Program.
Yes, thank you. No questions.
Okay, Councillor Goyda?
No questions.
Councillor Spoulos?
Yeah, two things. I'd like to thank staff again for getting this grant. And second of all, I'd like to ask staff, what is the timing of the construction of this bridge?
I can just provide an update as it relates to requirements as part of the grant funding agreement. So GM Blue Plan is working with the federal counterparts and the provincial counterparts to ensure that the appropriate consultation takes place. And then Mike can just discuss the construction timing.
Within discussion with GM Blue Plan, there is an estimated timeline, hopefully of beginning to mid-September, to hopefully have some kind of shovel in the ground or at least have demolition progressing on the old structure.
Okay, and how long would it take to construct?
Judging by how long they can proceed into the winter months, probably 6 months for the bridge, and then we would begin with concession 7 of the pulverize and pave in spring of 2021.
Okay, thank you.
So completion date is tentatively summer 2021.
that could be the ribbon cutting, yes.
Okay, any further questions on that one? All right. Is there a resolution, Ms. Whitefox, you want to read for that?
That report, FIN 2020-023, regarding the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, Rural and Northern Stream, execution of transfer payment agreement be received, and that council enact a bylaw authorizing the entering into a transfer payment agreement with the Minister of Agricultural, Food and Rural Affairs under the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, Rural and Northern Stream, for the upgrade of Moyers Bridge and reconstruction of McLean Road from County Road 34 to the McLean Road and Concession 7 intersection.
Okay, can I get a mover for that, please?
Sure, I'll move it.
I'm going to take Jessica Goy, Councillor Goya for the mover.
Okay.
Councillor Spoulos, you're doing enough work today already. Councillor Bailey, you want to second that? Okay, all in favor? Councillor Bailey,
Yep.
Councillor Bulmer,
Favor.
Councillor Goyda,
In favor.
and Councillor Spoulos.
In favor.
And I'm in favor, that's carried. Okay, then we have the administrative report for amending the council times for another 2 months. Any questions or comments on that? Councillor Bailey? No? Councillor Bulmer?
No questions.
Councillor Goyda?
No questions.
Councillor Spoulos?
No questions.
None either. So Ms. Whitefox, you want to read that resolution, please?
That report, ADM 2020-017, regarding amended 2020 council meeting schedule be received, and that the Township of Puslinch Council approve the amended 2020 council meeting schedule.
I get a mover for that? Councillor Bulmer?
Okay, I move.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Councillor Bailey, all in favor? I got you on the horn. Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, in favor.
Councillor Bulmer?
Favor.
Councillor Goyda?
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos?
In favor.
I'm in favor, that's carried. And then we have the proposed amendments to the bylaw, procedural bylaw. Any questions or comments on that one? Do we need the CAO to give a quick synopsis and rationale behind that one? Anybody like to receive that? Are we comfortable? Okay, Ms. Whitefox, you want to read the resolution, please?
That report, ADM 2020-018, regarding the proposed amendments to the procedural bylaw 59-08, be received for information, and that the Township of Puslinch Council gives 3 readings to the bylaw, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 59-08 as presented.
Okay, can I get a mover, please?
Sure, I'll move it.
Councillor Bailey, seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Bulmer. All in favor, Councillor Bailey?
Yes, in favor.
Councillor Bulmer?
Yes, and I'd like to thank the CAO. This is both zen-like and efficient at the same time. I must admit it's nice to see that a little change. I think it's gonna help out. Thank you.
Councillor Goyda?
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos?
In favor.
I'm in favor, that's carried. Ms. Whitefox, can you read out the draft entrance bylaw, please? Resolution.
That report, ADM 2020-019, regarding the Township of Puslinch draft entrance bylaw be received, and whereas section 207-17 of the Municipal Act 2001 and amendments thereto provides that councils of all municipalities may pass bylaws permitting and regulating the size and the mode of construction for culverts and bridges that cross any drain or water course situated on a highway under the jurisdiction of the municipality, and whereas it is deemed necessary and in the public interest to regulate the installation of entranceways over ditches and watercourses and ditch improvements upon any highway which forms a part of the Puslinch Township road system, and to issue permits for the same. Therefore be it resolved that council enacts a bylaw to regulate the installation of entranceways which form part of the Puslinch Township road system, and to issue permits for the same.
Okay. You get a mover for that, please? Councillor
I'll
Goyda?
move.
Okay, Councillor Bulmer got it, and I saw Councillor Spoulos for seconder.
Yes.
All right, any questions or comments on that? Councillor Bailey? None. Councillor Bulmer?
I'd like to thank staff. I noticed when there were a lot of questions swirling around about this one, and I think it's a good thing to have, and I commend staff on their ability to turn it around as quickly as they did. That speaks volumes to their ability to understand what the community needs. So thank you very much.
Yeah, good job. Councillor Goyda?
Yeah, I would just like to echo Councillor Bulmer's comments. I know that there's been a lot of work done to fine tune the wording just in the last couple of days. So thank you for catching all those inconsistencies and putting this together. I think just this report says it's just formalizing something that's being done anyways. And I think that's a really good approach in being transparent in terms of what the expectations are. So thank you for putting this together.
Councillor Spillis?
Yes, I also like to thank staff for raising the bar in terms of formalizing this and also responding quickly and factoring all the comments that were made.
Okay, yeah, good job, staff. Okay, so all in favor, Sarah, Councillor Bailey,
Sorry, yes, in favor.
Councillor Bulmer,
In favor.
Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spillis.
In favor?
I'm in favor, that's carried. Next one on the list, the letter of support, Enbridge. Ms. Hoyt Fox, please.
That report ADM 2020-020 regarding the Enbridge funding application natural gas service extension be received, and that the Township of Portland Council provides a letter of support to Enbridge to be included in their funding application to the province.
Thank you. Can I get a mover for that? Councillor Spillis?
Yes.
Can I get a seconder?
I have a question.
I'll do questions. Just seconder, please.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, so discussions, Councillor Bailey, you have any questions? Well, first I want to say I'm glad to see this in front of us. Initially, it wasn't one of the areas that was identified by Enbridge, and they've had a second look at it. So that's fantastic news for our residents down in that area of the township. So I'm quite happy with this. So Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, no questions, just this is encouraging.
Awesome. Okay, Councillor Bulmer.
No questions, but I must admit, when you read the comments about capacity in the lines, and we know there's a main line going right up the Downey, a very large line, it makes you realize how complicated and convoluted these systems are when they have to get from those main trunk lines off to all these little branch lines. And so there's a lot of planning that has to go into these. So I'm glad we're moving ahead on this again.
Excellent. Councillor Goida.
No comments.
Okay, Councillor Spillis.
Yes, a question for the CAO. The report is nebulous with respect to the detail of the roads that would be covered by this proposed application. Is it possible to get clarification on which roads within the northwest part of Portland Lake will be covered?
I asked that specific question to the folks at Enbridge, and the response that I received was the wording that's presented as you see it there, that's what's publicly available at this point. They're going to be able to release the additional information once the application is filed, and until the application is filed, it's considered confidential. So they're trying to generally describe the area as best they can while maintaining that confidentiality. So unfortunately, that's the best wording we can do until they file the application.
A follow-up question. When do the applications close? Is it in July or?
I believe it's August 4th now that they extended the deadline to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, all in favor, Councillor Bailey,
In favor?
Councillor Bulmer,
Favor.
Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spillis.
In favor?
I'm in favor, that's carried. Okay, now on to the local support gift program. Councillor Goida, did you want to speak to this first? Just turn your video off when you're speaking and I'll make sure you don't freeze.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, just
Okay.
suggest you turn your video off so that continue to hear you.
I think, sorry, I'm having some trouble here. I'm not sure if Matt from Awesome Interactive
Oh, that's right.
is on the call, but I was hoping maybe he could just give a little bit of a synopsis of what this is all about.
Ms. Hoyt Fox, is he here?
Yes, we have both Matt and Glenn here, so I'll just move them both over just in one moment.
Sure.
while Courtney's doing that, maybe I could add a bit more information that's come available since the writing of the report. As you see in the report, it says that we're still looking for someone or an agency to do the fund transfer through the purchase program. And what I'm pleased to be able to say is that the Wellington Waterloo Community Futures Corporation, they've agreed to do this work on behalf of the municipality to support this program, and they're fully interested in doing this. So we do have a mechanism of fulfilling that part of the puzzle.
Perfect. Okay, welcome Glenn, welcome Matt.
Thank you.
And,
Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So I'll let you guys maybe just give a little bit of a Coles Note version of the program. And what I would suggest is when you're speaking, it might be best if you shut your video off. Most of the counselors and myself are rural, so it's quite a bit of bandwidth to have the video. So anyways, the floor is yours.
No problem at all. Thank you. I don't know if we're going to be able to share a screen then, but just a real quick summary. I'll start with an introduction of our company, Awesome Interactive. So we're based in Harrison, Ontario. We understand your rural broadband issues as well. So I share that as being a guy who lives on a farm trying to get good internet. So I totally understand that. This gift certificate program, just give Awesome Interactive. Basically, we have right in downtown Harrison. We have 8 staff now, 9 counting the owners. We've been in business for over 20 years, most of that time based here in Harrison. We're growing quite fast, and one of the things we were asked to do both in Central Wellington and in Minto was to try and come up with a way to be able to help the community, help local businesses during this time of lockdown, COVID-19, limited openings. And one of the ways we came up with was it's hard to go into all the small stores, and how can you give? So one of the ways was to set up a gift certificate program. This works really good, really easy to do. We work with Shopify as a Shopify partner to be able to help set this up for both of those communities. Both sites are up online, and both have been giving amazing feedback of the community participation, helping businesses, and it helps all sizes of businesses, really focused on retail and service businesses. Small businesses that, a $500 set of gift certificates in a month might actually make a big difference at this time. Maybe they're working on limited income. A little boost gives them both the feeling that there's people out there that do care, want to see them open, and are willing to basically buy gift certificates where they may not be able to use them until the business reopens. Or they may be able to use them in a curbside pickup scenario. Or luckily with hair salons and everything opening up, everyone's booking in as much as they can. Father's Day coming up, that was a big one for a lot of them with Mother's Day, Father's Day, big gift buying time, but you can't necessarily get out to do that. Or you have relatives from far away that want to buy for someone local, can't visit, but you can certainly buy through a gift certificate website and have an email to them. So this has actually been going over incredibly well in both Central Wellington and Minto. We have a shoplocalcw.ca website up in Central Wellington. Oh, Matt's got screen sharing on, so I think we can maybe bring that up. Yeah, he can just walk you through. It's probably easier just to see it real quick. We can just see all the businesses listed. So if we set up something in Puss Lynch, it would look similar to this. We'd obviously do pictures related to Puss Lynch, be able to list all your businesses that want to participate. And this can be big or small. This is an advantage in 2 ways. We have some businesses here in Harrison that join, like the Home Hardware or a local food place, where they already have gift card programs in their store. But through this program, they can receive a gift certificate and then enter it in their own system. So when someone comes in to use it, they just check it off in their own system. And for businesses that are smaller and maybe don't have gift certificates for their business, this gives them an opportunity to do that, to actually accept gift certificates that people that can then come in and use. The ordering process is really, really simple. It offers $25, $50, and $100 options. And if you want to combine any combination of those, you could for one business, or you could buy from multiple business on a single checkout. And it's just a great way to help businesses keep going at this time. The process is simple. Checkout is very simple. It's a Shopify site, so it's very well known. You can share them on social media, promote your local businesses, and it's just a great way to simply help them out at a time when things are a little different. And hopefully, the plan would be then you could carry this on going forward as your business community grows. And more people are turning online right now, so this is another opportunity to be able to take advantage of that, to let people support their local business community, both at this time and going forward in the future. I know in Minto particularly, they switched gears a little bit. There's a few fundraising programs, like the Horticultural Society has ended up putting their memberships through this site as well. So it's a way to help community groups as well. The Minto Horticultural Society went online, and anyone who wants to buy a membership to keep that organization going can do that right through this Shop Local website. So there's other ways you can tie other groups in as well. And it's pretty straightforward. From a time standpoint, I know talking to your CAO, Glenn, he mentioned you don't have the partnership with a Chamber of Commerce locally like Center Wellington and Minto did. There's a ways, I understand he's worked on ways around that, but really the time to do something like this is not very cumbersome. It does not take long to manage. From the other two communities we've talked to, they've suggested about an hour to an hour and a half a week of time to be able to process transactions. And really the way they do it, the order gets placed, the administrative person then e-transfers the payments to the business. Works really smooth, and that's really where most of the time is, just doing the bookkeeping and sending the money off to the individual businesses to make sure they have money in their accounts. Works pretty good on that side of things. The costs, from our standpoint, we charge $1,000 for the setup and helping you get going. Along with that, we also are happy to do, if it's something that fits in with what you guys want to do, is to provide a webinar somewhere like this through a Zoom and open it up to all your business community so we can explain to them what it is all about, walk them through the program, and get things going really quickly so you can have a number of businesses sign up, because that's probably their biggest time consumption from a staff standpoint, is being able to get businesses educated and on the program initially. There's different ways to do that, and we're happy to help out to be able to walk people through that process as much as possible. The other costs are the Shopify monthly subscription. I'm not sure where we're going to fit with who's helping in Puss Lunch, but assuming we have a nonprofit status, Shopify offers a $80, $79 US a month program that for nonprofits you can get for the $29. So there's different ways to be able to manage that, but that's a big cost reduction. And that requires a nonprofit status. So Glenn might be able to talk to that more about who that partner would be. But the program itself, I don't know if we need to get into too many details. I'm happy to take questions. It's worked really well in the other two communities, and we'd love to help out in Puss Lunch if we can. Our organization, our business is very community minded. We'd love to get involved and help out however we possibly can. Our goal here is not to make money, but it's to see as many businesses grow and, in this case, survive. I like the numbers across Canada. We're back to only 50% of businesses open at this point. I hope that starts growing more as time goes on. But a great way to help definitely save your mom and pop type businesses, your small businesses on the street corner, but another way to help grow businesses as time goes on as well. So I think that's kind of the highlights I wanted to focus on at this point.
Okay.
I'll maybe pass it back over to Glenn or Jessica, and they can walk us through any questions that everyone has.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Mr. Schwedinger, do you have anything to add to that?
Just that, as I indicated before, as they were connecting into the meeting there, we do have a solution for the disbursement of the funds. The Wellington Waterloo Community Futures has agreed to do that for us. So we do have a way of implementing this. And you heard through the presentation that Awesome would be doing the training to get the businesses started so that they know how to get involved with the program. And then what I've heard from other municipalities too is once a few get involved, then it kind of builds on that. It builds up some momentum and other people hear about it and other businesses join after that, which is all a very good thing. Then in terms of promotion, as you've heard, the economic development folks through the county are working on promotion program to help local businesses. So this is definitely one that we could highlight to make the public aware of what's available, because there's the two aspects of it. Councillor Goyd and I discussed this earlier. You know, we could put a lot of time and effort into developing the program, but we also, with the businesses, but we also have to make sure that the public is aware of the program so that they can utilize it. So then that we could do some promotion ourselves and piggyback it with what the county is going to be doing. That's all I've got. Maybe Councillor Goyd, if you have anything else.
I'll just add a little bit. Just
okay,
hang on a sec, Councillor Goyd. Today on the mayor's call, they announced that the economic department in Wellington County is going to move some funds around. There's approximately $30,000 available for all member municipalities for programs like this. So it's something we'd definitely be looking at the county to help support us with. So, Councillor Goyd.
Well, I just wanted to, first of all, thank Matt and Glenn for putting this proposal together and for being here today. As you all know, this is something I felt strongly about putting in place as a small bit of help to the businesses in our community. And in my mind, there hasn't been any question as to whether this might help, but more a question of how something like this whether we could roll something like this out logistically and who would manage the funds. I wasn't sure if we had the resources to do that, but after speaking with Matt initially regarding the proposal he's spoken about today, in combination with the wonderful suggestion from Susan Fielding, a previous member of Puss Lynch Council, and the generous offer from Wellington Waterloo Community Futures to manage the funds, I'm thrilled to think that this is something that we might just be able to do here. And I see this money as being an investment and a sign of support to our local business and business owners, many of whom are also residents. And I think it's just another channel of exposure, because a lot of them don't have their own gift card programs or even website presence. And I think Puss Lynch is a very proud community that wants to help one another. And I think that this is just a really great one-stop shop way for them to do that. I wasn't sure, and as our CIO Glenn just spoke about how something that I hadn't thought of prior to yesterday was how we would make the public aware of this program should council approve that we are able to do that, and whether we needed to set any additional funds aside for advertising. But it sounds like there's some really good initiatives going on through the county. But I did just want to ask either Matt or Glenn, since they're here on the call today, if in their experience they have had, what has worked in terms of launching the program to make the public aware of it and sort of making a big splash.
Yeah, that's a good question. In both communities, I think it was promoted quite heavily through the municipal social media feeds. It was also covered through media as well to announce that the program was there. I know Senator Wellington did a media release and worked with council and worked with the Wellington Advertiser, for example, to be able to get that message out as well to the community that it was available and on. I know in either community, I'm sure the county as well would be able to help promote and just mention it even on their, say, Facebook or Twitter feed to be able to get that out to people as well. And then there's always other ways to go about it too. We are a digital marketing firm. So if you did decide that setting a few dollars away specifically for marketing would be effective, you're not in a hugely populated, dense area like Toronto or Hamilton. So we could easily hit most of your community with Google Ads from the display network. So when they're out searching around, even on the Weather Network or similar sites, we can make sure an ad to promote this gets out to people like that on there. And you have your own channels as well through everything you're normally doing. I would just add this onto that as well. And it would be amazing when you provide the tools that the businesses themselves will promote this for you. And you'll have a lot of people in the community who would love to take social media posts and share them. I know in a lot of our clients, they're struggling a little bit with content for their social media. So I know one of ours, before they really started to get back open, a great auto body service shop here in Palmerston, who was really struggling for content when they were shut down for the 4 or 5 weeks. Now they're back open going. But basically, she went on and she was posting about a different gift certificate every single day on her feeds, which went to hundreds. So you have individuals who will help with that promotion standpoint as well. A few dollars behind it doesn't have to be big, would certainly go a long way to getting the word out. But I think through normal sources of almost free promotion and stuff like that, this is a goodwill item that I think would be get promoted quite willingly by as many people as possible in your community.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, I'll open up to questions. Councillor Bailey.
Going to try. I really like how it sounds that it doesn't have to be a fully established business benefiting from this. Like a small entrepreneur in the township could benefit from this as well. So I really like that. My one question, I guess, to Glenn would be, we've got the Bang the Table platform in the horizon, wondering where this could fit in with that.
Glenn Hall, did you hear all that? The only part I missed was, okay, good.
Yeah, Bang the Table, we've kind of had to put on hold through everything else that was going on, just because our staff have been so fully allocated with everything else. So at some point, I think we could, but I wouldn't want to delay the implementation of this because we don't have the Bang the Table platform up and going yet. The one thing that I don't think has been discussed, and if it was, I missed it, I apologize. There is the option for the municipality, and from what I hear from Minto and Senator Wellington, is that this isn't just something that they want to have in place during the pandemic because it's going so well. They want to continue it on. So if that's the case here, we have good success with it here, then definitely we could link it to Bang the Table and use that promotion tool for it as well. But I think right now, let's just get started with the channels that have been mentioned here, if council's in agreement with it, and then we'll go from there. But we could always add it later.
Okay, perfect. Councillor Bulmer.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. And I really thank you for the discussion about gift certificates as well, because it's during this time, I must admit, we had a few that we were given prior to the pandemic, and we chose not to use them during the pandemic, but instead support the businesses by actually buying it. And whether we ever use those gift certificates or not, it remains a question, but it is something, as you indicated, you don't have to ever use a gift certificate. It can be just a way of providing support for local business. I also like the idea of that the community groups can take advantage of this. That's a piece I hadn't even considered, and we have a very active volunteer sector, and they're struggling as well through this. And whether they'd want to get on board now or even after the pandemic is over to get back on their feet, it's nice to have this here for them. But I have two questions. One is, I noted the way this works is that this is a website or a web platform that is branded for each municipality, and in that branding, part of that is registering a domain name of some sort for that website. Who would that domain name be registered? Whose name would that be registered in? So, I mean, I understand there's a fee for those things, but whose name would it be registered in for that domain name?
Yeah, everything is owned by Puslinch. Yeah.
Ah, perfect. The only other question I have would be for the CAO, and this, I hate to bring this up about bonusing. I'm not quite sure how this fits. I can see how this fits in our, if we have a business improvement area and part of our community improvement plan and all those sorts of things where we can provide funding and support for business. How can we, is this just strictly going to be seen as just economic development investment, even though I guess it's not our money is going directly to the business? Is that how we can get this through, as not being bonusing?
I don't think you have any concern with regards to bonusing, because it's not municipal funds that are going to, we're just functioning as a conduit to help facilitate the financial exchange between people who buy the certificates and the businesses themselves. It's not municipal money that's transferring hands, other than to set up that method of conveyance. So no, I don't think you have any concern with that.
Perfect. So I just want to make sure there were no limitations regarding the fact that we have to declare the entire municipality as a business improvement area or anything like that to make sure
No.
that everybody can be involved and participate. So that's great, because I know we've identified a corridor down Brock Road, but I wouldn't want to just do this and have only them participate and the businesses that are outside there not be able to enroll. So that's great. Thank you very much.
Councillor Spillis?
Yes, before I ask a question, I'd really like to thank Councillor Goya for championing this cause and bringing it to fruition as we have it today. She made a very powerful statement last time, and that was that even if we save one business from going under, it's worth it, and that really resonated with me. Apart from the human tragedy, there is a tax base issue here too. A business provides tax to our economy, so to speak, and we have to keep them alive and functioning well. So thank you, Councillor Guida. With respect to a question, I have one question. I noticed in the payment systems, you have GPay, but you don't have PayPal. Is there any reason why you wouldn't be using PayPal? I know that a lot of people are more familiar with PayPal or even credit cards. You don't seem to show credit card payment there as well.
Yep, that's a great question. The GPay does have credit card payment, so that's the primary way of going. And the difference is PayPal would actually be about 1% more for transaction fees. So the GPay is what Shopify uses. So that's the main reason for choosing it, is it's going to be a little bit cheaper to be able to process transactions, so the costs will be lower.
Great, thank you.
And the Shopify payments is already built in to the platform, and the Shopify payments actually deposits the funds a little bit faster than PayPal, which is every 2 to 3 business days directly to the bank account.
Well, that's good to know. Didn't realize that. Great, thank you very much.
Okay. Ms. Whitebox, do you have a resolution for that?
That report ADM 2020-021 regarding the gift certificate program to support local business be received for information, and that the Township of Plisslanch Council directs staff to proceed with the implementation of the program, and that the implementation be funded through the Wellington Waterloo Community Futures.
It's not funded through the Wellington Waterloo Futures. They administer it and use their staff, correct?
That's correct. Sorry, what that intention was in the resolution, I should have mentioned that before, I apologize. The funds will be transferred through Community Futures, but the expenses for the program itself were not budgeted for in our budget, because obviously it's a new initiative that just came up now. So what we're going to do, and maybe Courtney, if you could revise the resolution accordingly, is we're bringing a report forward at the next council meeting with a few other unfunded items that have been taking place, and we're going to deal with all of those at the same time, just to show you where we're going to be getting that $1,000 and whatever out of the budget from to finance the implementation of this initiative.
So my recommendation would be to fund this right now so we can get this program going. And then part of the resolution be that we contact the Wellington County Economic Development Department to ask for funding for this program. If we get funding, then we just turn some more to our coffers. If they don't fund it, then the program still goes. So I don't know, maybe they'll fund the whole thing, but even if we get 50%, then that's good. But I would suggest the motion recommend that it just be funded starting today so we can get going on the program, and then as you come back next council meeting, we'll hash out the details. So,
if I could, Mr. Chair, do you need someone to support what you're suggesting? There's the wording suggests that Waterloo Wellington Community Futures is going to fund the program, but I believe they've only agreed to administer the payment, as you say. And perhaps what you would like to add into this is that the staff be directed. We fund this right away, but would staff be directed to add this to what we get this paid by the county or whatever through the economic development. So that's what you're aiming at, isn't it?
Correct. It's just we're going to pay for it, Then we're
Yeah.
gonna ask the county to pay us back, and if they don't, they don't. If they do, great, and we'll just deal with it going forward.
But either way,
It's a good
either way, the resolution
paying.
suggests that, yeah, but either way, it suggests right now, the motion suggests that Community Futures is going to fund it.
Yeah, that's not right.
I
Yeah,
don't
that's not
believe
right.
they've said that.
No,
So
that's not right.
That has
No,
to be
no.
changed at the very least.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So Ms. Hoy Fox, if you could reread the resolution and just identify Wellington Water the Futures as administering the finances, and that this program be funded through, or staff directed to fund the program through Portsmouth Council budget adjustment, and that we contact Wellington County Economic Development Department for funding for this initiative in much better terminology, please.
Just bear with me for a second while I try to capture all of that.
I think so we'll have a quick discussion about that. So it's just that the Futures is doing the administrative part of it, delivering the money to the businesses. We're going to pay right now, then we're going to ask the county to reimburse us through that reallotment of ECDEV money that I spoke about at the beginning of this. So I think there's $30,000 maximum available to the member municipalities, and either way, we get this program, try to get the program started as soon as possible. So essentially, we're just cutting some red tape and try to get some feet under the program. So any questions or comments on those changes, Councillor Bailey?
No, it sounds like all the pieces have fallen into place to make this work. So well done, everybody.
Okay, Councillor Bulmer, you were on board, but another opportunity, just,
Yeah, I support the changes as suggested.
okay. Councillor Goyna?
Yeah, I support the changes, and I just want to thank everyone for your support.
And Councillor Spoulos?
I support the changes.
Okay, so Ms. White Fox, have you captured them to your satisfaction?
So I've made the change to the first portion, and I'll just read that. And then, sorry, just to recap, we're asking at this point for the County Economic Development Program to fund it. Are we asking for that now, or are we bringing a report back that will suggest that and then forward that to the county?
No, what we're doing is we're going to enter into an agreement with, sorry, Glenn Hall and Mike, what's your company name?
Awesome Interactive.
Awesome Interactive. We're going to enter into an agreement with Awesome Interactive to support this program today. So that's that $1,000. And then as staff direction, we're going to ask the county to help us pay for it. Does that mean, a follow-up question, we're a nonprofit organization, so will we end up with a Shopify account, or who ends up with that account, that monthly fee?
We would build the site and then essentially hand the site over to you. So the billing for the Shopify subscription would be direct to whichever organization the website's under.
So just so council's clear, we're funding the $1,000 startup costs and then an annual monthly subscription. If we can get it, Mr. CAO, is there any comment on whether we can get the nonprofit account from Shopify?
My understanding is we should have no problem in doing that.
So we're approving the $1,000 and the $40 a month to support the small businesses in Portsmouth, just for clarification for council.
Correct. And then Awesome can get started on it right away, and then we will report back to council as to how this will be, how we'll finance it out of our budget. The first course of action we'll do is check with the county.
Perfect. All right. So, Ms. Hoyt, do we need to have this resolution read again?
Yes,
I've got it. Sorry,
Okay.
I've got it just about done here.
All right. How about a 3-minute recess while Ms. Hoyt Fox writes up this resolution? I have something to deal with here in my house. Just 2 seconds. All right, how, okay, we're back. Okay, I'll do a quick roll call since I called in a little recess. Ms. Whitefox, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
I got a quick roll call. Councillor Bailey,
Present.
Councillor Bulmer,
Present.
Councillor Goida,
Present.
Councillor Spoulos.
Present.
Okay, and we have our deputy clerk, so we're good to go. Okay, are you able to read that resolution?
Yes. That report ADM 2020-021 regarding the gift certificate program to support local business be received for information, and that the Township of Plessis Council directs staff to proceed with the implementation of the program, and that the funds received through the program be administered by the Wellington Waterloo Community Futures, and that council directs staff to enter into an agreement with OSAM to initiate the gift certificate program, and that staff bring back a report regarding the potential funding options.
And it sounds good to me. Any questions or comments on that resolution? I'll get a mover, please. Councillor Goida, seconder. Councillor Spoulos. And so any questions or comments? Councillor Bulmer, do you have anything?
All good.
You comfortable? Councillor Bailey? I went in the wrong order, but that's okay.
Yep.
I haven't seen anything. Okay, all in favor? Councillor Bailey?
Yes, in favor.
Okay, Councillor Bulmer?
In favor.
Councillor Goida?
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That's carried. Okay, good work, everyone. All right, thank you, Glenn and Matt. Appreciate your presentation. Look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We have the COVID update. Ms. Whitefox, you want to read that resolution, please?
That report ADM 2020-022 entitled COVID-19 be received for information.
Okay, any mover for that, please?
Sure, I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor Willis. Seconder? Councillor Goida, come on. I see you're
Yeah,
thinking
sure.
about it. Councillor Goida. All right, any questions or comments? Councillor Bulmer, or sorry, Councillor Bailey, any questions or comments? No, I don't see anybody else. Okay, in favor, Councillor Bailey?
In favor.
Councillor Bulmer, any questions?
Favor.
In favor, awesome. Councillor Goida?
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos?
In favor.
And I am as well, that's carried. And then we have the report for the building department. Ms. Whitefox, you may mind reading that, please?
That report, building-2020-006, with respect to the building department monthly update for May 2020 be received for information.
Okay, can I get a mover for that, please?
Sure, I'll move it.
Councillor Spoulos, seconder. Councillor Bulmer?
Sure, I'll second that.
All right, any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All in favor, Councillor Bailey?
In favor.
Councillor Bulmer?
Favor.
Councillor Goida?
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos?
In favor.
I'm in favor, and that's carried. So now we're going to discuss the next report for the single source award for the software for the building department. I don't know, is Gerald's on the line here, so I'm sure he'd want to speak to this.
Yes, I'm here. Thanks. Do you want me just to sort of have just a brief discussion on the report?
Sure.
We've been looking at some type of software in order to bring the building department online for a while. And when the COVID hit, it pretty much pushed us into that predicament. Right away, we needed to be able to take in permits electronically. We needed to be able to issue permits electronically. We needed to be able to book inspections electronically. So we moved quickly into that through essentially email. And we've been able to do it, and we've been able to keep things moving forward, but we really saw the fact that we needed to be more efficient. A lot of staff time is being spent on going through all of the emails and trying to make sure nothing is missed. So we needed really a piece that would help us with that at the beginning. Now, I've been through several seminars, and I've seen several pieces of software in my experience, and I was introduced to Cloud Permit, and I was able to see it at another municipality. And I actually went to a bit of a builder forum where a lot of the builders were talking about it. So what got me excited about this software is that it was really well received by the development industry and the builders. To be honest, building departments have been very, very slow in getting themselves into the age of technology with regards to electronic submissions, and having this software would allow us to do that. Now, the savings that we're going to get in this isn't just in-house with the amount of labor and installations. It's going to be savings on the other side with the builders, because they're now going to be able to remotely apply for permits. They're going to be able to check the statuses, so there won't be as many phone calls. Where's the permit? What's happening? It'll be always updated on the website. When inspections are completed, it'll automatically be updated on the system. And of course, when permits are issued, it'll be issued through the software also. So it's a real good tool in order for us to use. The other good thing I liked about it is that a lot of the clients that Cloud Permit has are small municipalities like us. So it really is a software that's been really adapted for small municipalities, which really hasn't happened in the past. There's a lot of large and very expensive softwares out there, but only large municipalities with thousands of permits can afford it. So the good thing with this particular software is it's cloud-based. The provider is maintaining the system, able to update the system. We don't, and because we're getting in it where we are, we don't have to have any upfront costs in order to install it. They're going to waive those fees. And so I think it's a very good option, and I think it's really going to be well received by the industry. I have Peter today here from Cloud Permit. If there's any other questions that I might not be able to answer, he's also available if council has any more questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Is there anything the Director of Finance wants to add to Gerald's presentation before I open up the questions to council?
I think Gerald gave a really good summary. I also just wanted to indicate that the township will continue to use Keystone to house the property role information for the building permit process. And so we will be working, should council approve this, with Keystone to ensure that that integration occurs.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bailey.
2 questions. Clarify, the builder wouldn't need an app or anything from their end. They would just go on to a site. Is that
Okay.
Yeah, if I heard you correctly, I think the builder would be given a username and password. And so essentially what happens is there will be a link from our website to Cloud Permit's website where they will host everything. So the builder would have to sign in, get a username and password. The neat thing about this program is that they're actually able to sort of upload their drawings and kind of create their permit application without actually sending it to us. So they can have other consultants maybe throw in a piece or somebody else throw in a piece. And then as soon as they're ready, they can simply push a button and you would, it would be submitted. And there's absolutely no app that's required for this. It can be all done online through the website.
okay? Great. One other question. If, say, a builder needs an inspection done, you know, within a few hours in the morning, can they still make a phone call to request inspections, or does now everything have to be online?
Yeah, of course, they can always call us. So we're going to be available like we always have in the past. But, you know, from the way I've seen the program, the good thing is they can request a morning or an afternoon. And then when we get in the morning and we see how the list is, if everybody wants the morning, of course, we can't always accommodate. But what we would do is if we accept it, that's great. They're given a notice to say we've accepted their AM inspection. However, if we have to move it to the afternoon, then they'll receive an update that their inspection's been removed to the afternoon. I really like the communication piece, and that's really been, I think, something that I really think is so important in our industry is the communication with the developer and the applicant, and this will improve that.
Councillor Ballmer.
Thank you. Thank you for those clarifications as well. The questions I have relate to the note in the report talking about it integrates with Keystone. Now, we've been using Keystone for a long time in the township, but we're starting to look at other things. I know we've talked about fire hall, I think, for managing the fire hall. We've looked at I think we're moving our asset management plan to use Citywide, and Citywide provides, I guess, has modules just like Keystone. It could provide a lot of the stuff that Keystone does. What if we no longer use Keystone in the future? Is this compatible? Will it be able to be used if we decide to use Citywide, make greater use of the Citywide that we sign up for?
I can speak to that, Councillor Balmer. So the last time I had discussions with Citywide, unfortunately they don't include a taxation module. And we utilize the taxation module as part of our Keystone system, which also links to the building permit data. So perhaps this will be something that Citywide will implement in the future, and then we could investigate it further.
So
I can get Peter to discuss it further, but this program, Cloud Permit, deals with a lot of other systems. So the idea is that they do work on an integration with your back-end system. So if that happened in the future, then that is an option. Yeah, it can be done.
yeah, it sounds like, in my little limited understanding, anytime you can export a database, you can import it to something else, as long as I'm sure they'll work on making it compatible with importing to others. I want to confirm that we're not going to be stuck if we don't use Keystone in the future. That this of course leaves us Cloud Permit. We've got Cloud Permit, and it doesn't talk to whatever we've got. So it sounds like. So.
That's why I like this. This is a front end piece. This is the customer piece. It's kind of our process piece at the front end. So it's kind of the cap where everything behind it is the database. And so we're not changing Keystone at this point. We're keeping it there. We're just adding this piece on the top that really just makes our department smooth and flow and have good communication with the permit holders. So I think that's why it's beneficial, and that if we do change the back end in the future, it can be done.
Okay, then that changes how I understood this. So then it's, but Citywide also provides a similar service, do they not?
I'm not 100% sure on Citywide. They provide some type of service, but I'll tell you that the problems that I find in my experience with a lot of these softwares, and we'd all love to have one software that covers our entire business in municipality. But the unfortunate reality is that there is not. A lot of times you'll have a software system that started as an accounting system, and then they say, well, why don't we add bookings for arenas, or why don't we add building? And the problem I find with that is that they're not really experts at those departments. So we end up getting a product that really isn't working for what we need. This product I like because it's been created specifically for building departments, and it's specific to our needs, and it really does understand our business. And so that's why I find that this particular product would be more beneficial than some of the others that really don't know the business.
And I understand that. Maybe perhaps it'd be a question. My question would be best answered by I said his name is Peter from Cloud Permit. I guess what the core of my question is that if we export that database on a regular basis, we own that database, and if we do switch to something, we don't lose all our data that's just on their cloud. We have a copy of it locally.
Oh, of course, that's in the contract that they give us the data for sure.
Perfect. That's all I wanted to make sure that we don't lose those records if we end up having to make a switch in the future. Because I love everything you've said about this and in the report. Sounds like it's the best service out there. I just want to make sure we don't end up with no files to show what we've done in the past. So thank you so much.
Councilor Goyda.
Can you hear me okay? I'm just getting a notice that my internet connection is unstable.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much. I really, really like the idea of being able to apply for a permit and request a building inspection online. I just have one question. So prior to COVID-19, the process of physically applying for a building permit would include bringing the application to the township office, at which point the staff would review the application to check it for things like zoning and setbacks, conservation, engineering, those kinds of things. to ensure that it was complete before the application was accepted. I'm not sure, but I believe that the intent of that is to ensure that the permit could be examined quickly without being sent back with deficiencies and missing information. So the benefit of that was that the applicant would know right away if their application is complete, and if not, they would know right away what they needed to do if there was something missing. So this isn't necessarily a question specific to this software, but just to moving online in general. Is there a mechanism in that software to check the applications for completeness? Is it an automated feature, or does the staff still need to go through kind of like a review? And if so, what would the turnaround time on something like that be, as opposed to knowing right away when you're physically in the building?
So there's going to be two aspects to this. The first is the software itself. The software automates this very well. So the idea is that you're required to fill out several fields, and then you're required to upload several documents. If you miss a certain document, it won't submit. So that is going to kind of is the first bit of screening that we have that is on the software, and that's why I really like this software. These are people that understand just what you said, Councillor Goy. You understand the process. They understand the process, and they've really created a very good front end where it is going to screen out the incomplete permits so that we're dealing with the ones that are complete. So that's number one on the software side. And number two, when it does come in and it gets through that first step, staff are looking at it just like they did when they were looking at it in the office. We've already have a PDF editing software that we have that staff will look at the document and indicate, okay, yes, you may have gotten it past the first screening, but we still are missing an item. And the building code gives us 2 days to notify them before it's an incomplete permit. So we do still have that mechanism to kick back a permit that's incomplete. It's just going to be done virtually.
Okay, that's perfect. That's great.
Okay, Councillor Spillis.
Yes, I have several questions. First of all, these drawings are uploaded. Is there a proprietary format of the drawings? What I'm alluding to, is it something that like an AutoCAD format, or is it something that's proprietary to the digital cloud, and only only their software can translate it?
No, what they accept is multiple types, but what we're looking for is PDFs. So a portable document format, which is pretty much what we see with anything else that's being used. They will upload the documents to the software, and then when we review it, we will download it, do our review. Once we've done the review, we then upload it back to the site, which we call the approved drawings, which we can then deal with issuance. So at all times, we are going to be able to have these documents, and it's going to be always in a format that we can read.
Okay, next question. Is there a training component required for staff?
Yes. And this might be something where I can maybe bring Peter in. I don't know if Courtney, you can work on that while I talk about a few things, but they will be training our staff. The good thing too is that they've implemented quite a few, as you saw on my list in the report, quite a few municipalities have been brought on board in the past, and they've been able to get better and better at implementing this in a very quick amount of time. So that will be part of it.
Okay, so there's no extra cost associated with training. That's what I guess I'm getting at.
No, they've indicated that they're waiving all the initial integration and upfront costs. It will all be included in the annual subscription.
Okay, and then the fact that we're getting drawings now in digital format, does that mean we'll be able to move to a digital library as opposed to hard copy?
Yes, we already started working on that right when COVID hit. We created some protocols, and on Mary's team with Michelle, they've started to create a electronic folder system, all of our property files. So we're going to be quickly moving over to a completely electronic property file system, of which these documents would be included in that.
Okay, last question. If I'm a small person who wants to build a shed, can I just walk in and do the same thing that I've done in the past? Or do I have to use this software?
We would always recommend to use the software, but if somebody gets in a situation where they have no way of uploading it, certainly they could come into the office. We could accept the permit after we've opened the office back up, and we could scan this stuff in as ourselves, as long as it was in a small format. It wasn't a large format drawing. We could help them with that process. But we're finding that really 99% of the people want to be online. It's really, we were the ones holding back implementation.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. The only question I would have is the backup of the document. If we're going to electronic filing of the building department, the backup information, would it be held on township servers, or is there a backup in case of a crash?
So of course, Cloud Permit has backups for their system, so it can always be done. In our case, maybe Mary might be able to comment on how we back up our electronic files.
Yeah, I believe through OnServe, we do daily backups.
Okay. All right, so Ms. Hoyt-Fox, you have a resolution for this report? Or do you want Peter? Was there something Peter wanted to discuss? I saw we brought him in here. Or Councillor Spillis, you were happy with Gerald's answers to your questions?
Yes, I am. I really don't want to get into too much detail. I just want to fly up 30,000 feet and get the answers rather than digging too far down.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Ms. Hoyt-Fox, if you don't mind reading the resolution, please.
Report Building 2020-007 regarding single source award for the purchase of building permit software be received, and that council authorize the single source award for the purchase and implementation of Cloud Permit building permit software to be funded from the building surplus reserve at an annual cost of $12,000.
Can I move for that, please?
I'll move.
Thank you, Councillor Bulmer. Seconder, Councillor Bailey, I saw you raise your hand. Okay, all in favor, Councillor Bailey?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Councillor Bulmer?
Favor.
Councillor Goida?
In favor.
Councillor Spillis?
In favor?
I'm in favor. That carries. Thank you, Gerald. Have a great day. And Peter, thank you for showing up.
Thank you.
Thank you, much appreciated.
Right. Hopefully that helps things in the building department.
Very much.
So I believe we're on the mayor's update. I didn't submit anything for this, but our CAO put out an email which had been brought to my attention as well. AMO is going virtual for August. So we need June 30th, the government is requesting as the deadline for our delegation request to the minister. So for me, I believe we should be requesting a meeting with the Minister of Finance and Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing surrounding the aggregate assessment issue. Those are two big ones. So I'll let council have some discussion on it. You're shaking your head no, Councillor Bailey? Oh, nothing? Okay, Councillor Bulmer?
Off the top of my head right now.
Councillor Goida?
Just I know that we're possibly expecting some announcements from the Ministry of Transportation, but I don't think it would hurt necessarily to kind of keep driving that Highway 6 bypass request to the Ministry of Transportation, barring any announcement that comes before that.
Okay. Councillor Spillis?
Yes, several suggestions. With respect to the MNRF, perhaps we can include the ARA revisions. We were pretty strong on some comments with respect to their revisions that they were proposing. I know comments are closed. I don't know if it makes sense to push our comments through again. I'll leave it up to whatever everybody else feels. The one other thing is the support for the conservation authorities, GRCA, and all these programs they have for our residents. I know the province is trying to define the core mandate for conservation authorities. So I was wondering if we want to do anything in that regard. Another one is natural gas. We've done two natural gas applications, and we still have a long way to go in Puslinch to have natural gas more prevalent. And I was wondering if we can sort of push to see if they can free up more money, or in any event allow us to come up with some solutions that would do it as well. We could do it in conjunction with the gas companies. And lastly, I know I was going to bring it up under community announcements. Would we want to pursue the rural internet aspect of it with somebody? I know we got a call in we're planning to meet with by teleconference with some officials who are responsible for this. I was just wondering if there's a need to continue reinforcing that. That's all I got.
Okay, so the natural gas request, what ministry would that fall under? Is it infrastructure? Is it natural resources? I don't know. Which one is it?
I don't know. I think it's, is there a Ministry of Energy? Glenn, our CEO, Glenn Swiniger might know.
I believe it would be energy, and Ontario Energy Board falls underneath that.
So we have MNRF, we have MTO, yes, MOF, and we have Municipal Affairs and Housing, and Energy. That's a lot.
You were asking for suggestions. I came up with quite a few of them, so it's a matter of just prioritizing what you want to hit.
So I'll speak to the MTO one first. I feel that we can maybe back off on that one for AMO, and because they have told us they're going to make an expansion announcement, and the coalition sent a letter to Minister Mulroney's office. I continue to tweet it out and keep the pressure on her. So I believe we're doing enough advocating on that end until we get this announcement. That way at least we're not being too pushy. So if you're comfortable with that, Councillor Gordon, maybe we'll revisit that delegation request at Roma in February, or what's the other one I was getting? Good Roads. So that we could take that one off for now. We really need to do the MOF, the Ministry of Finance, for this assessment review. That's going to affect Wellington County, the province, the township in an enormous manner for tax base. So I feel that should be our number one. Is there any other concerns with that? Can we leave that one in there, MOF? Councillor, everybody, yeah, you're good. I would like to do the Ministry of, if it's energy, for the natural gas expansion. That's pretty important too, and that's boots on the ground issues for our constituents. Natural gas is a great resource. I have it at my house, so I understand why we need to advocate for that. So I would encourage that one. Does anybody have any objections? I'd like to do 3. And maybe 4. I had MECP down here. Oh, that's Conservation Parks. You were talking, Councillor Spoulos, right?
Yes, I was. Yes, there's a lot of discussion. Some municipalities want the conservation authorities just streamlined to their core mandates, and core mandates will not include some of the functions that the GRCA provide for us. We made a motion with respect to that, and I think that is important too, to support the conservation authorities.
I would support that one.
I agree. I agree, but would it be a better fit at the Roma, the Rural Ontario Municipality Association, versus AMO?
Oh, no,
get
I
Roma
would,
behind it, get,
I'm worried the decision will be made sooner than later.
yeah, if I
Okay.
were to put my 2 cents in on this one, if we look at the presentations we receive regularly from Conservation Halton and how much they're doing on a self-revenue, generating their own revenue to support most of these programs. And if we look at the need for open space through this pandemic, it's one of those things that it's something that rural areas can provide for urban areas, is a space for people to go and distance and do something without having to congregate. And I think we need to make sure that those conservation areas and all of their lands remain available for people to access when they want to get out and do something and maintain the social distancing. So I think it's a good one.
okay. Well, I'll have discussions with council on what we're going to present to them. Is it just going to be our comments that we already submitted, or do we have any new information? I think it's important to come with some new ideas to the table, or that we haven't maybe said in the past, or some more foundation to support our comments. But so I'd ask the council to kind of look into that if that's what they want to do. We need MNRF. We still need. We did say some strong words around the aggregate proposed changes. So I believe we do need MNRF. So we're going to get up to about 5, I guess. And I still believe we need municipal affairs and housing to talk about growth and also zoning for aggregate operations.
If I could, Mr. If I could speak to the MNRF piece.
Sure.
I think we have their ear. I think I'm not sure if addressing the minister again would be the way. I'd like to see if we get back in the loop with the staff again. That was very productive last time, and I don't know if going to speak to the ministers will get us that ear again. What do you think?
I believe that we do have their ear, and that I don't want to give the impression that we're putting our tail between our legs after that last correspondence from the minister. I feel we bring a lot of value to the table with new ideas and ways to get aggregate to market, and I think we should ask for more staff meetings, possibly right after this meeting today at council meeting, but also go and ask for a meeting with the minister so we can discuss and not use the opportunity meeting with the minister to complain,
yes,
but
okay,
to bring these ideas forward.
Good. Yes, and yes,
Does that work?
Yes, that makes much better. I understand. We've put some good ideas in writing. Let's back it up with a very good 2 or 3 point presentation to help them understand what those points. Pick the ones off that list that we want to drive home and focus on that.
Mm-hmm. And then, as the letter stated, the minister encouraged us to engage staff at the MNRF still. So let's take advantage of that. Let's try and get another meeting and see where things are going prior to AMO. So Ms. White-Fox, what do we have so far? We have MNRF, Ministry of Finance. We have Municipal Affairs and Housing, MECP, and Ministry of Energy. That's 5.
And then there was the rural high-speed internet that I noted, but I don't know if that has found a spot yet, or what we're doing with that one.
So that would go to 6. It's going to be a busy week for me.
Well, I guess we're going to have an introductory meeting with parliamentary staff, or perhaps a deputy minister through our discussions with Speaker Ted Arnott. So perhaps we can hold off on that one.
Mm-hmm. And you know what we could do, Council Schools? Oh, yeah, silly. I'm still thinking it's going to be in person. I thought we could hunt them down after the bear pit, but that's not going to be an option this year, unfortunately. Yeah, I'd accept that we have that introductory meeting with the parliamentary assistant, and we'll continue to work the angles we can. So are we comfortable with those? What are we at? 5, Ms. White-Fox?
I have 5, yes.
Okay, and you know, council, if you could just, if we didn't cover it well here, if you have ideas or points that we should highlight with these specific delegations, then please send them to Ms. White Fox so we can review them, and that'll give me an opportunity to prepare myself for them, for the delegations. I don't know how it's going to work this year. Last year was fantastic at Roma anyways, when we had all of council there. AMO, I tended to attend by myself, but now that it's going to be virtual, might present the opportunity for members of council to join in on the delegation, which would be nice. Always appreciate the support and the input. Okay. I don't think there's anything else. Mr. CAO, am I missing anything under mayor's updates that we should be informing anybody on?
Not that I can recall, no.
Just a
Okay.
question of the conference. To
I
participate in,
didn't catch that.
do we need to be registered for the conference?
I'm not sure if you have to be registered for the conference at AMO. I don't believe so, not as delegation, because you're a member of council. So, because it's the Roma delegations, we just, as a council, put in for the delegations and we showed up. But I guess you had to get a, I don't know, that's a very good question. Mr.
Now
CAO,
that we
do you
know
think
that you, now that we
members
know
of
that
council
council
have to
does want to
register?
have, yeah, now that we know that you do want to have some delegations, we'll investigate the process and we'll keep you all posted. We'll do what needs to happen, and we'll keep you in the loop as to what the requirements are.
Yeah, it's an evolving situation now with those new protocols and COVID.
Yep.
Okay. Any further questions? No. All right. We have any notices of motion? Councilor Spillis?
Yes, I do. I'll read out the notice of motion, and we can take it up next council meeting. Whereas noise from the operations of the Aberfoyle pit have been noticed to be occurring on Sundays and late at night over the past several months, whereas the noise has caused a noise complaint to be made to the MNRF by a resident of Aberfoyle Mills, whereas the MNRF has advised the township that the licenses associated with this pit do not have any restrictions on hours of operation. Be it resolved that staff be requested to obtain the hours of operation noise level restrictions for the nearby gravel pits, including those to the side, Highway 401, and that the MNRF be requested to add hours of operation noise level restrictions to the Aberfoyle pit site plan similar to those of other gravel pits.
Okay, thank you. So that'll be on our next agenda. Thank you, Councilor Spillis. Committee minutes. We're not having committee minutes. Municipal announcements. Anyone? Councilor Spillis?
Yes, one, and sort of corollary to that. On Monday, the mayor, our CAO, the chair of our internet committee, and I participated in a teleconference with Speaker Ted Arnott. And the nub of the discussion was to get him to arrange a meeting with the people who will be allotting the funding to understand, and we want to understand the rules for funding applications, and we want to get Ted on side as well. Ted indicated he will do that. He's in fact drafted a letter. And he wants to participate as well in that meeting. So that's a very good sign that we're on our way to try to get the necessary support as we move forward. And the corollary to that is, I was just wondering if we can ask our CAO where he stands on the progress with our consultants.
Sure. The work with Clear Cable is progressing quite well. They are in contact with all the suppliers in the area who could potentially supply service to see where their infrastructure is, to determine which ones to approach in terms of expanding some service in unserviced areas. They're looking at where service is available. Also, we had a meeting on Tuesday with University of Guelph together with Clear Cable, and met with their staff who are undertaking the research to determine levels of need in terms of business and homes and home businesses, all those types of things, upload speeds and those types of things. So that research is underway as well. They're going to have one of their research students dedicated entirely to Puss Lynch work for this project, and that data will then be shared with Clear Cable to work on preparing their concept that they're going to be bringing forward to the municipality, so that we can use that as support for funding. They are going to be conducting some surveys as well with certain businesses and things to get some of the necessary data to support the application and to demonstrate the need economically for a community of increased internet services. And I've asked them to prepare those notices, submit them to us so that we can help promote participation in the surveys as well. And that's in conjunction with what Councillor Sapoulis is doing with the Internet Committee already in the survey that they're doing. So all the data that committee has collected is being sent over to the university, and they're incorporating all that. So there's going to be a whole lot of really good supportive data to demonstrate the need and economic benefits of this here. So it's all going quite well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else for municipal announcements? Anybody? Councillor Bulmer, anything? Oh, Councillor Bailey, you have something?
Yep, I do have something on behalf of Safe Communities, Wellington County. July 6th is National Injury Prevention Day. So we've been asked to display that on our electronic sign. So you'll see that between July 2nd and 6th. And you might notice towns across Canada painting the town green. So if you see green lights, you'll know it's because of Injury Prevention Day. And if you see any messages through social media, if you can help share it, that'd be great.
Okay. I think I missed the first part. Just said which week it's Injury Prevention Week, or?
Yep, Injury Prevention Week, July 6th.
Okay, perfect. Any other municipal announcements? No. No. Okay. All right. Any unfinished business? Anyone? No, somebody's got a visitor. Okay, Ms. Whitefox, bylaws.
The following bylaws be taken as read 3 times and finally passed in open council. Bylaw 2020-031 being a bylaw to amend the township's procedural bylaw. Bylaw 2020-032 being a bylaw to regulate the installation, construction, alteration, or change in the use of any private entranceway that permits access to a township road allowance. And bylaw 2020-033 being a bylaw to authorize the entering into a transfer payment agreement with the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs under the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, Rural and Northern Stream, for the upgrade of Moyers Bridge and reconstruction of McLean Road from County Road 34, McLean Road and Concession 7 intersection.
Okay, can I get a mover for those, please?
Sure.
Councillor Spoulis, seconder. Councillor Bulmer.
Okay.
All right. So any questions or comments on those before we vote? Councillor Bailey, are you in favor?
I am.
Councillor Bulmer.
Favor.
Councillor Goida.
In favor.
Councillor Spoulis.
In favor?
I'm in favor, and they're carried. All right, can I get a resolution read? I believe that's it, and we're going into close. We'll need a resolution for going into closed, please.
Council shall go into closed session under Section 239 of the Municipal Act for the purpose of A confidential verbal report from Glenn Schwendinger, CAO Clerk, regarding a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board tennis club cost sharing agreement, and B, adoption and receipt of minutes of the previous closed meeting being June 3rd, 2020 closed meeting.
Can I get a mover for that, please?
Sure.
Councillor Spoulis, seconder, Councillor Goida.
Sure.
All in favor? Councillor Bailey.
In favor?
Councillor Bulmer.
In favor.
Councillor Goida.
In favor.
Councillor Spoulis.
In favor?
And I'm in favor. So that's carried. Thank you to the attendees that watched the council meeting. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
that council moves into open session.
Can I get a mover, please?
Move.
Councillor Spillis, seconded by Councillor Goida. All in favor, Councillor Bailey. Councillor Balmer,
Favor.
Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spillis.
In favor.
I'm in favor, that's carried. And confirming bylaw?
I just have the closed meeting.
Oh, minutes, right.
The council receives the confidential verbal report from Glenn Schwendinger, CAO clerk, regarding a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on behalf of or by the municipality or local board, dash tennis club cost sharing agreement, and B, adoption and receipt of minutes of the closed meeting for June 3rd, 2020 closed session.
Okay. Can I get a mover for that? Councillor Balmer,
I move.
seconder? Councillor Bailey. All right, all in favor, Councillor Bailey?
Yep.
Councillor Balmer,
In favor.
Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spillis.
Favor.
All right, I'm in favor as well, that's carried. Ms.
Okay.
White Fox. Yeah.
That the following bylaw be taken as read 3 times and finally passed in open council. Bylaw 2020-034, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council for the corporation of the Township of Plisslich at its meeting held on the 17th day of June 2020.
Okay, can I get a mover? Councillor Goida,
Sure.
seconder? Councillor Spillis, all in favor, Councillor Bailey? Yeah, I got to hear you. I didn't hear you. There you go. Councillor Balmer,
In favor.
Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spillis,
In favor.
that's carried. And adjournment, Ms. White Fox.
That council hereby adjourns at 5:02 p.m.
Mover,
I'll move.
Councillor Balmer, seconder, Councillor Goida, in favor, Councillor Bailey,
In favor.
Councillor Balmer,
In favor.
Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spillis,
In favor.
and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.